If you have ever been interested in pursuing your own graphic design business, but not quite sure where to start, then this is the video for you. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan. If you have not been here before, thank you so much for being here. In today's video, I'm going to go over a complete beginner's guide to becoming a graphic designer. So if you guys have been to my channel before, then you'd already know that I've been designing for the last 8 years. I've worked in corporate companies, at marketing agencies, and I've been taking on freelance clients for those entire 8 years. So I've learned a lot, and I want you guys to learn from my mistakes. And I wish I had a guide when I first started to know how to take things to the next level much quicker. But I also want to preface by saying that you don't need all the fancy tools, all the fancy softwares, all the things to do this. I think a lot of times I see people get so hung up or stagnant because they worry about the wrong things, which are those tools or those softwares, or also naming the business and not sure where to start. So my biggest advice to you is to just start. And I'm going to share with you guys the things that I would start with, but don't get hung up on all the little things because we grow with time and we change with time. And I'd rather see you get started and grow with that than never get started and wait until everything's perfect, because in reality, it's never going to all be perfect and it's never going to feel like the right time. You just have to get started and learn as you go. I also want to say that I know that a lot of us are working a 9-to-5 job, or we have families and other obligations, and I totally understand that. But I remember when I first started, I was also working a 9-to-5 job, and I would do as much as I could when I'd get home from work or on the weekends, and I would sacrifice. But if you really want this and you want to pursue graphic design full-time or even as a freelancer, then sometimes it requires sacrificing some days or time or even just an hour every day or on the weekends to put work into practicing and putting yourself out there. It's not going to happen overnight. It took me over 6 to 7 years to finally feel like this could actually replace my 9-to-5 income. So I'm sure I could have done that faster if I was more aggressive with it, but I want you guys to remember that it doesn't happen overnight. So let's start with number 1. The first thing that you need to know to become a graphic designer is the basics of the design principles. The 4 design principles that I recommend every graphic designer knows is balance, spacing, alignment, and typography. There's a lot of other principles and rules out there, but I believe those are the 4 most important things to know to get started in graphic design. And there's so many great resources out there. I do teach this in my Logo Design Simplified course. I go over typography, color theory, and more of the basics of design. But I also wanted to mention this book right here, which I will link down below for you guys. But this is a great book for getting started. It goes over the basics of the rules of graphic design and also goes into typography, spacing, alignment, all the things that you're going to need to know when getting started. So I would look into books like this, and I also have a bunch of other ones linked in my Amazon storefront. So I'll link that down below for you guys to go check out. But this is such a great one for the beginner basic rules of graphic design. But it is also super important to know the basics of typography, especially if you're going to be working with branding and websites, because I use and look at fonts and typography every single week in my business, and I need to know the basics of sans serif and serif and the balance of typography and what looks the best and most pleasing to the eye. So definitely make sure to study typography, learn all the terminology around it, because that's going to help you so much, and it really pops up in every single type of design path you go down. And if you guys want me to make a video that goes over more of the basics of graphic design, like those 4 principles that I mentioned, let me know and I can make another video on that. But I wanted to share the other tips I have for the guide to becoming a graphic designer. So the second thing that I recommend that you start to look into and plan for are the tools that you're going to be using. And I know I mentioned in the beginning of this video that you don't need a whole lot of fancy tools or all the awesome gadgets. I know there's some people out there that have everything and anything, and that's awesome. But I really have started with very basic, simple tools to help me get the job done. So what I'd recommend having is a computer. I mainly use Apple products because I find them easy to use, and I also love the color. The way the color looks on the screen is so accurate and beautiful. So I do love Apple products, but I know that it is an investment, but I'd recommend having any computer where you can install a design software that allows you to work with vector-based images. So I'll do a little bit of research for you guys and find laptops that are great for budget-friendly laptops, as well as the ones that I use. I do use a MacBook Pro, so I'll link that down below, but I love it. Like I said, the colors, it's really fast because it's the new M2 chip, and it helps me with my workflow and also just helps me get the job done even faster. So if you can invest in something like that, it is so worth it. They last for a really long time and I love it so much. But another tool that I use almost every single week, and honestly I use this tool a lot for fun, for like passion projects, but that is my iPad and my Apple Pencil. I have a very old iPad. I think it's 5 years old, and that might not sound that old, but it's not the best and the biggest iPad. It really is like the simple model and it gets the job done perfectly. I love it. I have been looking into maybe upgrading it because I'm running out of a little bit of storage, and I want to allow for more storage because I use the app called Procreate, and I'll get to more of the softwares in the next point. But I use Procreate and I like to screen record for videos to teach like how to use Procreate, and I'm running out of space to do those video recordings. So I have an iPad. I think I have, let me check real quick. Okay, so I have my iPad right here and it says that it is a 16.3 version and it is the 7th generation iPad. So like I said, it does the trick. I use it all the time for logos and branding and brand icons, and also for textures, for patterns, and for fun, for passion projects. I love to draw things out. Like I just drew this the other day for a potential wedding invite that we're working on. And so it looks like this. It's like a fun little drawing of a little Jeep and stuff. So there's so many fun things you can do on Procreate and with your iPad. I also love to use it for note taking if I'm on discovery calls, or if I'm like brainstorming new business ideas, new product ideas, or even just to brainstorm the actual designs. So love my iPad, and I would recommend it for the designers that want to get into more custom branding and want to get more into like the illustrative type of things. It's not necessary for like web designers, or I feel like package designers definitely could use this, but it's definitely more of a recommendation for those who want to get into brand design. So those are the main tools I use: laptop, iPad, and Apple Pencil. I do have a pretty large monitor that I like to design on because I like to have client feedback open as well as the actual design software open and like my music that I'm listening to, but it's not necessary. Like, don't get hung up on the fact that you might need all these things. Truly, you can start with the very simple basic items and just get started and practice and invest in something later on if that's something that you want to do. I can also make a video to talk about all the tools that I use for video editing, because that's when things start to get a little bit more. I have a lot of things for tripods and microphones and cameras and lights and stuff, so I can get into more of that in another video. But like I said, for design, you really don't need a crazy amount of things. You just need to invest in those simple items that are going to help you get the job done. Okay, so now that we've talked about the basics of graphic design as well as the tools to actually get it done, let's talk about the softwares, because that's also another important thing that will require investing in something to allow you to do this. I know that there's tons of free programs out there, but I'm going to go over the programs that I think are the most important to have or to invest in the future. So I'm going to go over the softwares that I use, but I'm also going to mention the most important thing behind these softwares and why they're important to invest in. So number one, I use Adobe Illustrator for all of my brand design projects. So this means logo designs and poster designs, business card designs. I use it honestly for every single custom brand design that I'm creating. And I know that Adobe InDesign is really great for this. It's great for large formats or packets or things that are going to be really blown up in a big size. And it's also really great for print materials. but I love Adobe Illustrator and it gets all the jobs done for me. And it's just, once I've learned it, it's really easy to use and there's so much customization within it. So I highly recommend Adobe Illustrator if you want to get more into the graphic design world. Another program that I use mainly for the brand designs and what I already mentioned with the iPad tool, and that is Procreate. Procreate, I believe, is around $35 one time. And it's great because it allows you to draw out any sort of illustrations or ideas or icons. One of the things I love to provide my clients are brand icons to really bring a brand pattern together or to even add elements to a web design. So I love to use it for that custom effect with my designs that I offer. And it's just a really fun program. It allows you to practice art and illustration and design. And I don't believe you need to know how to draw to become a graphic designer. It's not a requirement, but it's really nice to be able to know just like the basics of drawing things out and getting some sketches out there. And you can always go into Adobe Illustrator or into those vector-based programs to make it look really nice and really clean. So I love it. And there's also a lot of great tools within Procreate to make your drawings and designs look a lot more smooth. So if you're worried about that feeling of like pen to paper, it can feel a little bit intimidating, but on Procreate, I believe that it makes drawing much easier and it makes it look so much better. So definitely give it a shot. I think it's a really great program for graphic designers to get into. And the other software that I use all the time, mainly for my website design projects, is Figma. Figma is amazing for prototyping websites, also wireframing websites. There's so much to Figma, and I go over a lot of this in the community that I just launched. I have so many videos that I'm going to be posting in there about all the little tools and things I've learned with Figma. But one of my favorite platforms for website designs by far, I used to use Adobe XD, and unfortunately they're not around anymore. So Figma was the next best option for me, and I love it. There is a free option if you're just getting started and you want to play around with it. I think you can have 2 projects in the free option. Want to get into website design, it's probably going to be something that you'll invest in for your clients. I actually love to design my clients' websites on WordPress. It's where my website's hosted. It's where I've learned how to design websites. And I know it feels a little bit outdated, especially with all the web design softwares out there now. There's so many awesome choices, but WordPress still becomes a top competitor for many reasons. And I can talk about this more, but WordPress is so great for companies that are going to be growing and really having a lot of traffic to their website, because you can make the WordPress website you can make the back end as big as you want it. And I think that's one of the most awesome things about WordPress is that you can pick the hosting account and you can pick that back end like space in the database. You can customize all that. And you can't really do that with a lot of other web platforms. So like I said, I can go into this for so long, but WordPress is still one of my favorite website platforms. A little bit more advanced, but if you decide to go down this path of using WordPress, then I would recommend looking into a WordPress hosting account. I use SiteGround and I love SiteGround for WordPress hosting. And I also pay for the plan that allows me to host unlimited websites. So this makes it for a great client experience because I can design and develop their website under a temporary domain. And then when we're ready to launch it, I will then transfer it over to their hosting account. So I love WordPress, and like I said, I can go on and on about this, but I definitely recommend looking into hosting accounts if this is something you want to go down. But like I said, it's a little bit more advanced. So I know if you're a beginner, you might be testing out all your options, which I recommend doing, looking at all the website platforms to figure out which one you like the best, and also which one's going to serve your clients the best. But if you do go with WordPress, you're definitely going to need to have some knowledge and also potentially a hosting account that you can host your clients' websites off of. And also, while I'm sharing all this, it's really important to consider where you're going to be designing your own portfolio and your own personal brand website. So you can play around, test out all of these softwares and tools that I'm mentioning for your own branding. And like I said, my own website's on WordPress. So if you want to see a live example of one, go check it out. but it's definitely a common request from clients, or you might see it in the future as a competitor of other softwares. So I definitely would kind of get to know the platform. And right along with WordPress, I use a visual builder called Divi. So I know that some of you might be thinking WordPress sounds really cool, but I don't know how to code. I'm not really interested in coding. You don't need to know code to use WordPress. There's so many visual builders out there now that make it really nice to just drag and drop and have a visual front building effect similar to like Squarespace or Wix. It allows you to do that on WordPress. So don't be afraid to try it out, but Divi is one of my favorites, and I'm mentioning that because it's a software that I've invested in. I paid one time, I think like $270, and I can use it on unlimited websites forever. So it's definitely a no-brainer for me. I think it's a great tool and visual building option for WordPress. So those are mostly the softwares I use for the actual graphic design services that I offer. I have made a whole other video on all of the softwares and tools I use in my business, but I'm mainly going over in this video the actual design things that you need to know and how to get started with like the service-based part of your business. But if you want to hear more about the business tools, I'll link that right up above here. Okay, so now let's talk about how to actually get started. We have all of the principles down, we have the tools and the softwares figured out and what we like and what we want to work with. So now it's time to practice. So you most likely are getting started in graphic design because you're starting to see people interested in working with you, or you just know deep down that you are an artist and you're creative and you're gonna love doing a career like this. So make sure that you love what you're doing. But most likely you probably do, and that's probably why you're listening to this video. But what I'd recommend doing to actually get really started in graphic design is to practice through passion projects. Even the most advanced and experienced designers are still doing passion projects. I also am starting to do this more. I want to make time to design the things that I really love and care about because it's going to attract those clients within that same passion. So it's like the best of both worlds when you can practice with passion projects and also land clients within that same passion. So definitely important to do. And it's really cool to have the opportunity and experience to do that when you're just beginning, because it's going to allow you to build your portfolio and design it so beautifully that matches not only your style, but like I said, the passions that you have behind design. So when I say practice with passion projects, this is more of like if you love coffee shops, or if you love beauty and skincare, or maybe you love bars and restaurants, or whatever it is that you're drawn to, take that and design it. Like you can go and redesign existing brands, or you can make a completely made up one and just practice based on a fake brief. So you can use ChatGPT, you can use AI tools to help you come up with a fake design brief based on the passions that you have. So I would recommend doing this when you're just getting started. And also, like I said, even if you're experienced, to build up that portfolio to actually attract the niche you want to go after. And of course, the best way to practice is through your own branding and website. I know I hear so many designers say it is so hard to design for yourself. It takes way longer. I mean, everyone's different, but it takes me way longer to design for myself than it does for clients. But practice with your own branding and website, because it's going to come in handy when you actually have a personal brand or graphic design brand behind what you're doing. You're going to just gain a lot more trust from clients when they see that you are actually able to do that for yourself too. So that brings me into my next point, which is to build a portfolio. Having a portfolio is a non-negotiable. This is so important because you're not going to buy something if you don't see a picture of what it's going to look like, or you're not going to go work with someone if you have no idea what the results are going to look like. So really important to build a portfolio, and I recommend doing this through an online website because it's so easy for clients to access, and you can also take advantage of a lot of the SEO behind your website to start to get some traffic to your site. So definitely make sure to build up a portfolio, use those passion projects, use the projects that you're maybe landing clients on right now, and create some mock-ups out of the designs you're creating and put it in a portfolio. It's so important, and this can grow and change over time. When I think about my very first portfolio I created, it's completely different now. So don't get too hung up on it looking super consistent and, just exactly how you want it. It's going to change in the future. So don't get hung up on that. And also, don't get hung up on a niche. We talk so much about the industries we want to go after or the specific service we want to target, but don't get hung up on that. It took me over, I think around 6 years, 5 to 6 years to finally find a niche. And a niche is basically that specific target audience you're going to go after. It took me a long time. I think it typically takes people around 2 years to work. I would say the first 2 years of designing, you're going to be working on everything and anything, any opportunity that comes your way, you're probably going to say yes to it. And that's totally fine. Then the next 2 years, you're probably going to start to get a little bit of an idea of what you do and don't like. And that's perfectly okay too. And then you're going to get into that year of knowing exactly what you want to work on. And you're going to start to say no to the ones that aren't filling you up or also just not fitting within your style. So it's going to take a while to figure that out. So don't get too hung up on that, but just know that your portfolio will probably change over time. And I recommend once you start to know the niche you're going after to make the portfolio really speak to that niche. Okay, I said niche a lot just then. But this brings me in to my very next point, which is to lean on community. I would follow so many inspirational designers when I was just getting started, and it really, really motivated me. I didn't get so overwhelmed by following all designers out there. I think that there's a fine line between consuming way too much and then also supporting those that you're really inspired by. So I'd find that balance, set some boundaries for yourself within that. But when I found the designers I was super inspired by, it allowed me and it gave me the insight and the vision into where I could take this. So lean on community. Don't be afraid to reach out to people to get some advice and stuff. That's what I did. It really helped me get started. I even went to a graphic designer retreat, met a bunch of new people, and I truly feel what helped me was seeing the types of designs and services that you can start to offer, and also the types of styles that I was drawn to, and kind of like figuring out in my mind how I could enter into the space in a unique and different way. So it's important to like see what's out there and to see like how you can be different and unique. But also, like I said, make sure to have some boundaries with yourself because you don't want to get too overwhelmed. And also you don't want to compare yourself all the time. You're going to have to take some time to figure out your style, what you're good at, and sometimes social media can really affect that. So set some boundaries, but also don't be afraid to lean on community. And I also wanted to mention that I just launched my Patreon community last week. And right now I have a founding member sale going on until next Wednesday. So you don't have that much time, but I'd love to see you guys inside of my community. I'm going to be posting a new tutorial on things like Figma, Adobe Illustrator, behind the scenes of client work, all the things about design. I post a new tutorial in there every single week. And I also have chat rooms going on if you want to ask questions, connect with other designers. There's so many awesome designers in there right now chatting away. So I'd love to see you guys inside as a founding member because that founding member sale will end next Wednesday. So go check it out. I'll have it linked down below. I wanted to mention that real quick because it's a great place for leaning on other designers and a community to help you and motivate you to continue to grow in this industry. Okay, so I wanted to leave you guys with a little bit of motivation and advice that really has nothing to do with actual designing and the things you need to know to make beautiful work. And that is, truthfully, I can sit here and say all the things that are going to help you with the actual creative process, but what it really comes down to is you being willing to dedicate time to this because it does not happen overnight. I know I already mentioned that, but I think so many of us think that we can start to land so many clients to replace our income within a few months of working really hard at this, but it does take time and it's a really fun journey. I don't want it to seem like super intimidating. It's really fun and there's so much success that can be had in it if you dedicate time to this and if you're also open to learning and finding your unique style and practicing through those passion projects. So just having that dedication to it and being proactive with it is going to get you so far. Okay, so I wanted to mention that at the end because I truly feel the most important thing that you have to have is dedication. to your craft and to the graphic design world. There's so much that you can consume and learn, and you can be the best at Adobe Illustrator or Procreate and all of that. But if you do not dedicate the time to put it out there, or if you're not proactive enough about putting yourself out there to land the clients, it's not going to go very far. So you have to have that behind you and to fuel you to actually see success in this. But I really want to share with you guys all those design principles, the tools, the softwares, everything that you're going to need to get started. And then once you start to get going, things like the client experience and the back end of how you're working in your business is also really important. But those are the basic things that you need to have to start within the graphic design world. But I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video and that it maybe helped you or taught you something new if you're getting started in graphic design. Also, congratulations if you are getting started. That's awesome and you're going to love it. I'm so grateful every single day I wake up and can't believe that I get to do this for a career. It's so amazing. So I'm really excited for you. But I hope this video helped you, and if it did, I'd appreciate it so much if you subscribe to my channel for more and like this video. And if you want to see more of the tools and all the things that I use in my business to run it and have everything going so smoothly, then be sure to check out this video right here. And I will see you guys in my next video.